So there are a lot of different efforts in the country to get money out of politics, to do campaign finance reform, to fix our system. And a lot of them believe that we should focus in on awareness. Now, there was a recent poll that showed that 96% of Americans believe that money has a corrupting influence on politics. Awareness? Check. Country's very aware. Now, others think, hey, we should really try to influence Congress into calling for an amendment, because an amendment is necessary. The Supreme Court is blocking us. Every time you pass a law, the Supreme Court strikes it down and says, no, you're impinging on the rights of billionaires and corporations who are human beings and can spend unlimited money in politics. So the only way to go above the Supreme Court is an amendment. Okay, so a lot of people are politely suggesting that Congress does that. In fact, I remember when the first state passed a resolution asking Congress to pass this amendment. And if you don't know the process, what happens is if 2/3 of Congress calls for an amendment, then 3/4 of the states would have to ratify. So then 5 states asked for one, and there were still no hearings. That's interesting. Then 10 states politely asked Congress, hey, can you please get us that amendment? Still no hearings. Now we're up to 16 states saying, pretty please, can you please get us that amendment to get money out of politics? No hearings. And then one state, brave little state of Vermont, said, hey, you know what? We're a little tired of waiting. We're going to go ahead and demand that we get that amendment. So how do you demand it? You say, Congress, thank you very much, but I don't need you, okay? There's a second way to do this in the Constitution. If 2/3 of the states call for a convention on that specific amendment, well, then you don't need Congress at all. You could bypass Congress. And that is not pretty please. That's not, can you please take this action later? Or would you like to be aware of this? That is, no. I get 34 states to call for a convention, and there's a convention. Then we propose the amendment, and then we ratify it. It is actual, specific steps that force that action. So guess what happened? After the first state that passed this resolution calling for a convention, well, you look at that. Today, congressional hearings. Funny how that works. Now, it's in the Senate, and it's in the Judiciary Committee. You want to know who's the head of the Judiciary Committee? Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont. When asked about these hearings, here's what Senator Leahy said. I recognize that amending the Constitution will not be easy. Vermonters have been leading the nation on this issue, and many in our country took note that our legislature was the first to call for a constitutional convention for the purpose of drafting a remedy. Booyah. That's a little thing called Wolfpack. I told you the story earlier on the show. They literally said it was impossible to pass that resolution in Vermont when our Wolfpack crew went up there. And we worked really hard with some great Americans that I laid out in a different video, which you should check out, that worked hard, both Republicans and Democrats in Vermont. They got together and they said, enough is enough. This system is broken and we need to fix it. And let me tell you about Ginny Lyons, who was actually the first Vermont state senator to get involved in this. And she was the first state senator across the country to get involved. And she said, if we saw something like that coming from Congress, meaning that if Congress was going to do it itself, I would be thrilled. But we haven't seen that happen. So that's why she said, step aside, Butch. We got this. And now she says, maybe that's what we needed to do so that Congress wakes up. And guess what? They woke up. And all of a sudden, we've got hearings. I love it. See, they always tell you you can't do it because they want you to stay home. They don't want you to do anything. But it turns out it's amazing what you could do if you work together. wolf-pack.com. I've got more news on that in a second that you're going to love. Meanwhile, Harry Reid comes to the hearings. One of the things he said was, the decisions by the Supreme Court have left the American people with a status quo in which one side's billionaires are pitted against the other side's billionaires. And that is incredibly true. And lo and behold, you have hearings and you find out new information. Now listen to what Harry Reid says about Mitch McConnell and what Mitch McConnell, now this is not only the opposition, the Republican leadership in the Senate, but the guy who filed suit in McCutcheon, let alone the other cases, to say, no, we should have unlimited money in politics, okay? But listen to what McConnell said 30 years ago. Harry Reid explains.
The cynics may scoff at the idea of us working together on an issue as critical as good government. But it wasn't all that long ago the issue of campaign finance reform enjoyed support from both Democrats and Republicans. Campaign finance reform has been proposed a number of times before, even by my friend, the Republican leader, Senator McConnell. Senator McConnell's own constitutional amendment, his own, he sponsored it, empowered Congress to enact laws regulating the amount of independent expenditures by any person which, quote, from his legislation, can be made to expressly advocate the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate for federal office, close quote. In advocating for this reform, Senator McConnell said, and I quote, "We Republicans have put together a responsible and constitutional campaign reform agenda. It would restrict the power of special interest PACs, stop the flow of all soft money, keep wealthy individuals from buying public office," close quote. There's a lot more that he said, but that gives you the general idea that at one time, Senator McConnell agreed without question with me and most of the people behind me. Although he opposed billionaires using their own money to run for office, Senator McConnell now supports billionaires' ability to fund today's campaigns and independent expenditures. In fact, he even declares today, quote, "In our society, spending is speech," close quote. The undue influence that my friend decried 3 decades ago has not magically transformed into free speech.
Oh, I loved how they were showing Mitch McConnell's face throughout that. And you know what was ringing through my head. Fix your face.
Fix your face. Fix your face. You know that.
There's Harry Reid busting him up. He said, no, wait. Before you got corrupted by this system and now you want unlimited money, even you realized that it corrupted us. Now that he's already corrupted, Mitch McConnell loves the money and he wants it in unlimited form. There's no bigger crony capitalist in America. So how do we make these guys do it or bypass them? This is how you do it. You know the 17th Amendment? What that was direct election of U.S. senators. Before that, a lot of people might not remember this, we didn't do direct election of senators. The state houses would decide who would be your senator from each state. Now, why would senators change that? They got elected under the old system. They don't want the new system. They were one state away from a convention. And then all of a sudden, all the senators were like, oh, yeah, we meant direct election. Of course, yeah. And then, of course, all of a sudden, 2/3 of Congress winds up passing that law, that amendment, and then it goes and gets ratified. That's how it works. You don't ask them politely, you make them do it. That's why we call it Wolf Pack, okay? Because we're not asking politely. Join us, wolf-pack.com. By the way, for those of you who have joined us and who signed the petition, we took those petitions and delivered it to them and said, here they are. And they talked about it during the hearings. It wasn't just us. All the different groups that are wanting to get money out of politics, 2 million people signed those petitions, and they went full whap and put them right on the desk. So what are you going to do now? And now, it's not just Vermont. One of the great state senators working on this in Maryland is Jamie Raskin. He went in and he testified. Look at what he said.
SJ Res 19 will enable us to protect democratic politics and free market economics. In politics, we need to revive democratic self-government where all voices can be heard and not drowned out by billionaires who turn up the volume on their soundtracks to ear-splitting levels and CEOs who write checks with other people's money, as Justice Brandeis called it. In economics, we need to strengthen businesses that practice free market competition and pull the plug on rent-seeking corporations that spend freely on campaigns now to obtain tax breaks, sweetheart deals, and public subsidies later. Adam Smith, who favored honest competition and feared industry capture of government, would tell us that in campaign finance, laissez isn't fair.
Look, if you're a conservative or libertarian, you got to love what he just said. You want real free markets. What these corporations do is they go and buy the politicians to kill the free markets. They get an unfair advantage. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum they're on. That's crony capitalism. That's what they do with the money they spend on the politicians. You don't want that. Now, I'm going to give you more about real Americans that work through Wolfpack and which states we're coming to next. But I want to give you one more from Jamie Raskin here.
If we do nothing now, pretty soon, the people will no longer govern the corporations will govern the people. At times like this, when the court has undermined democracy, we've amended the Constitution. We did it with the disenfranchisement of women, and we did it when the court upheld poll taxes. Most of the amendments added since the Bill of Rights have strengthened the progress of democratic self-government and expanded the political rights of the people, even as the defenders of inequality and elite privilege protested that their rights were being violated. So don't be intimidated. The people are with you.
See, this is what he's saying. When he says the people are with you, by the way, he's not talking about corporations. Can you believe they say corporations are human beings? Go to any room in the country, unless it's got Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell or the Supreme Court, and ask them, hey, do you think corporations are human beings? Nobody will raise their hands. These guys have built a system on the idea that corporations are people with constitutional rights. Unfortunately, they already rule us all, as Jamie Raskin was alluding to now. But we're going to get them back. Let me tell you about people who are doing that across the country. New update for all the Wolfpack successes. In Oregon, they're going to introduce a resolution. State Leader Colby Clipson has been amazing there. In New Jersey, they've already introduced a resolution. Sorry, we're coming. State Leader Walker Green there. Rhode Island, live resolution coming. State Senators Susan Sosnowski, Donna Nesselbush, and Elizabeth Crowley and Catherine Rumsey are sponsoring the call. So both in Rhode Island and New Jersey, the resolutions are already on the table. We're coming. That's not all. In the South, Louisiana introduced the resolution. State Leader Tom Anderson there for Wolfpack has done an amazing job. wolf-pack.com. But one of my favorites is in the Midwest, Iowa, State Leader Carol Berry. They call her the Lone Wolf of Iowa. She alone got 20 to 30 co-sponsors of the resolution in Iowa. 20 to 30 state legislators listened to Carol, the Lone Wolf of Iowa, and they said, yeah, we're in. You're right. You know why? Because as State Senator Raskin just said there, because the people are with us. And so the minute you get the resolutions, all of a sudden, it's not easy, nothing's easy, but it gets easier because how do you vote against 96% of the American people? You got to go through a lot of excuses and machinations to pretend that somehow it's pro-American to let corporations and the rich buy our politics, buy our government. No. We're for free and fair elections. That's what a great majority of Americans agree with. If you agree with us, join us at wolf-pack.com. These hearings will not be the end. We're at the beginning, and we're coming.